Welcome to Human Potential at Work, the show where we explore social impact, inclusion, and empowerment of everyone, including persons with disabilities. Your host is Deborah Rue, CEO of Rue Global Impact and co-founder and chairwoman of Billion Strong, an identity and empowerment organization designed to bring billions of voices of persons with disabilities together. To join the global community and to donate to the cause, visit billion-strong.org. That's billion-strong.org. And now, on to the episode.
Hello, everyone. My name is Deborah Rue, and this is Human Potential at Work. I'm excited about the conversation today because housing is a critical issue all over the world. And we need to make sure that we do not discriminate against people when it comes to housing, and we have been doing it for forever. Our guest today, I love his title, he is America's mortgage coach, but we are also going to talk about this globally because I know a lot of the audience members are global, but we also do things very interestingly in the United States, and we're very committed to making sure everyone can own a home. So John Mallett, if I said that, and I probably did not because he's very kindly smiling at me. No, you messed it up. And he's the owner of Main Street Mortgage as well. And I'm very honored to have you on, John. So thank you for joining the program. And will you please pronounce your name? Oh, and one more thing I want to do, John, that I always forget. I want to give a visual description for anyone that's listening to the program that might be watching the video, but they can't see us. And so I am a Caucasian woman, and I have grayish hair with purple streaks in it, and I have the Billion Strong logo all behind me because we're all excited about the identity organization we're creating. And I'm wearing a blue top and a white and blue sweater. So John, welcome to the program.
Oh, it's great to be here, Deborah. Thank you very much. So my name is John Mallett, is how the last name. Mallett is actually the way you're supposed to pronounce it, but in the United States, people don't get it. So it's Mallett.
So people are always changing the pronunciation.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes,
that's right. And for me, I am a Caucasian white male, and I have on a blue shirt, and over that is a blue sweater. And I'm just so grateful to be here today with you, Deborah.
Yeah, I was telling you before we went on air, I'm actually, my career before becoming an entrepreneur was mortgage banking.
Yeah.
And I loved that we helped people get in homes. That is what probably is the biggest investment you ever make in your life. And I know that we take a lot of pride in home ownership, but at the same time, we do know that a lot of people are left out for a whole bunch of different reasons. Yeah. And that's why I really appreciate, I know you're a very big supporter of making sure African Americans are included and other disenfranchised groups. So
yes,
tell us more about, that.
Well, it really stems from my background, from the way that I grew up. My father basically walked out on our family when I was about 8 years old. And that led to some very difficult circumstances. And we were living in 2 blocks from the beach in Santa Cruz, California. It was an idyllic place. And my mother said, we got to move down to a little town called San Luis Obispo, where I can get my college education and so I can get work. And so we moved to San Luis Obispo. And from age 8 to age 14, we were displaced from our home 4 different times. We either couldn't make the payment, they asked us to leave, and the 5th and final move was actually into the projects. So I grew up in government housing for that time. Now, Will you tell the audience members globally what you mean by project housing, and just in case they don't know what that means? Yeah, that's great. Project housing is where the government or the state pays for the housing. In other words, you're in housing that is for, I would say, that probably the lowest rung on the ladder as far as poverty goes. In other words, you're really in a situation where you can't make enough money to make a rent payment. And that's where you're getting supported. And what happened is, if you go back a couple of years, at 12 years of age, my mother was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Oh. And I became, at the ripe old age of 12, a quasi caregiver for my mother. And through the aspect of being disabled, fully 100% disabled, basically, that's the environment that I grew up in for my teenage years. Right. And when I was 18 years old, my mother died from complications. So, it really, I have a little bit of understanding now. I don't want to say I know what it's like to be disabled, although I have to admit, I just had surgery on my right foot and I can't put any weight on it for 30 days.
Right.
So I'm scooting
So
around
you
on
do
the
know.
scooter. Yeah. And so I do have an idea of what
Well,
it's like.
plus you
But
have lived experience with disabilities because of your mother. So you
yes,
actually really are part of our community.
yes,
You were a
I
child
really
of our
am.
community and you now as an individual.
Right.
I also have an invisible disability. I have ADHD, which has been a blessing to my work and bad for my health sometimes, but
So the passion for home ownership really comes from my upbringing because I wanted something that was stable. I didn't want to have people come in and say it's time to move. I didn't want to have to be able to not put a nail in the wall when people says, well, you can't put a nail in the wall because we're going to have to move and we want our deposit back. So housing to me is one of the grounding root aspects of stability and being able to balance a life.
yeah, and to feel safe. You don't
Yes,
feel safe when you don't know at any time that somebody's going to come and kick you out.
correct. Exactly.
It must really be stressful and make you feel so safe. And you're going to school during that, trying to be normal, whatever that word means. But
Right, right.
I just think it's such an important conversation. And now that we are rethinking everything and breaking and blowing everything up, it's an opportunity to make sure that home ownership is available to everyone. And of course, when I was in the part of the field, I know we were dedicated to inclusion and stuff, but there's so many obstacles. There's so many obstacles. And so where do you even begin to try to help? And do you do it from the perspective as a coach of the people that are buying the house? Or do you also work with the mortgage establishments behind that to help make sure that these people can be successful? I mean, what
Well,
are you coming?
that question is the essence of questions, because what that does is it says, how do you go about getting people financing? And there is, I hate to use the word discrimination, but there is a hesitancy for some people to spend a lot of time on a loan. I'll give you an example. A couple came to me. This couple was disabled. They had 3 disabled children and the husband was disabled. They had mental disabilities.
Okay.
And they basically came to me with and saying, we can't get a loan anywhere. Nobody will take the time. And it's not that people can't get financing, because 33%, at least in the United States, 33% of the people who rent can buy and don't know it. And I would assume that worldwide, there are a lot of people that are renting right now that can probably buy, but they just don't quite know how to do it. And so this couple came to us and they said, can you help us? And we said, yeah, we're going to dive into this and get this done for you. And that loan, it was a small loan. By small, I mean, it was like, $100,000 in Southern California. That's considered pretty small.
Yeah.
And it took us probably 3 months. The amount of time that we spent with this couple, it took a long time, but we finally got it and we got them moved in and they got their house. Yeah. So it really comes down to a point of how much time is your mortgage provider willing to spend to help you get financing. It may take you 3 months, it may take you 6 months, it may take you a year. But the one thing that I'm convinced about, Deborah, more than anything else, that I've been in the business for, over 30 years, is when people have the drive to buy, when they really want to figure it out, it happens.
I agree. But what happens for the people that think that they can't buy, that why even bother? And it is so complicated to buy. And once again, I was in the business, I haven't been in it for years, but it is extremely complicated. Right. And there's never been a time when I have bought a home. I've bought a home 3 or 4 times when I wasn't totally confused by everything and thinking for sure I wasn't going to get the loan, for sure. You go to the closing and you're still not 100% sure. So yeah. It's a very stressful experience.
Oh yes, anxiety filled, very intimidating, because this perception of what it is to buy a home. It's interesting. I had a client, he was worth over $10 million. He was in the entertainment industry. And he called me almost every day to check on whether or not he got a loan approval. And I'm just going, why would somebody do that when you can pay cash for the house? But there's this energy, this anxiety energy that kind of says, oh, are you going to get a loan? And a lot of times, whether or not you get a loan, you tie that to your own self-worth.
Oh, so true.
And so it's really important to disassociate yourself with that and understand that home ownership transforms life. Our key phrase is transforming lives through home ownership. A good friend helped me develop that. And I really believe that. I really believe that your life is different when you go from renting to owning.
Okay.
And so it's that process that takes you through, and it's imperative to be able to hook up with a good coach, a mortgage coach that can really help you see through that. And if you can't, and if you do, and there's a lot out there, there's great lenders out there. And so the idea is to be able to put it together in such a way that your package can be reviewed by the lender in a positive way.
Yeah, and that's such a good point. And I have so many questions from that point, because one of the American dreams that we talk about all the time here in the United States is one of our American dreams is that we would own homes. It's very important here in the United States. It's one of our founding principles.
Right.
And that we do find that large segments of our populations are disenfranchised because of all this confusion. And I love that you're a coach, because once again, being in the industry for many years, not all mortgage lenders are made the same. And what we, as the consumers, the people that want to buy the house, we don't understand that. So you need to take the time to find the right mortgage lender. It's worth it. And if you find a coach, it'll save you money. You can save money in so many ways. But I remember my son recently, a couple of years ago, I'm very proud of him, bought a home. And he at first talked to a mortgage lender that was being sort of, I think, talking down to him because he was a young man. Mm-hmm. And so I said to my son, the good news is you are in charge. Absolutely do not work with that person. You go find somebody that will understand who you are and treat you respectfully. Right. So it's the same thing. A lot of times the younger people are treated like, oh, really? Oh, you're so cute. So how do you get the message out? And I know we do it by talking about it like that. And that's one reason why I wanted to have you on the program, because I know you've really helped African-American population a lot with this as well. Why did you know to do this? To me, it's so logical, but I will tell you, a lot of people aren't thinking like you do.
Yeah, well, I think, again, it comes from my experience growing up in the projects. It has a lot to do with watching people come in, people that are referred to me that come to me and say, we can't get a loan. Nobody said we could qualify. And then they told me everything that they're doing. And I said, you know what? I think you can get qualified, but it's going to take a little bit more time to get that done. And so you've got to hang with me on this, because you're going to get frustrated through the process. And that's why it's so important to have that. Why is it that you want to buy? You've got to be able to have a certain conviction in your body that says, no, I can do this. And it's critical to be able to seize on that, because there are times when you're going to get discouraged. There are times when you get turned down. I may take you to a lender and the lender will come back and say, no, we won't do it. Then we got to find another lender, or we need to make some changes, or we need to improve your credit. There's a lot of things that can be done to help you with that. And I think that the opportunities are there. It's just that you've got to be able to put forth the effort. In some cases, it's a mind-blowing experience, because you're raising yourself. You're stepping up to another level of consciousness that says, no, this is something that I can do.
Yeah, and I love how you tie that into it, because I agree with it. These are our homes. This is where we hopefully feel safe and we do, live our lives. It's very important. I forget where you're located, but if I remember correctly, we in the United States, we can go to any state. We are not limited. We don't have to deal it, right? Is that right?
Correct.
Anyone can come to you. So.
I'm in California, so I can only make loans in California. But I can also do coaching. I can help you get started. And you could actually do coaching for people anywhere in the world. Sure. Exactly.
Because as you said, it's a mindset. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be a homeowner. And
Right.
so I'm going to do these things. And even little things like our credit is very confusing in the United States. So getting that right and understanding what dings us and doesn't ding us, it's very complicated.
But that's a great point, Deborah, is that there's a lot of myths out there. There's a lot of myths that say, no, you can't qualify. You have to have great credit. You don't have to have great credit. You can have credit scores, lower credit scores. You can have them even down to what we call a credit score of 580, which is, a fairly low score.
Right.
You want to try to get it better so that you can bring that score up because you'll get more opportunities. But the myth that goes with credit is that you can't make it better. But the reality is you can make it a lot better. You can always change. That's a great thing about credit is you can increase your score. You just got to have somebody to help you coach you through that. Or the idea that you got to have a large down payment. There was a survey done in the United States here, Deborah, that showed that 45% of renters that were surveyed said that they had to have 20% down to qualify for a mortgage. So if you're going to buy a home for $300,000 in the United States, that means I have to come up with $60,000. Now, that is a deal killer. There's no way that I can do that. I can be really positive and I can have the drive to buy, but 60 grand, that is like being with Cassius Clay in the boxing ring. That's just not going to work. The reality is you've only got to have 3% down. So if I'm buying a $300,000 home, $9,000 in US currency, that's doable. I can do that. I can go to friends, I can scratch, I can do everything that I possibly can, and I can come up with that money. And so with 3%, I can do wonders. Then we can think about getting into a home. Wow. And so it really has to do a lot with education. It has a lot to do. Those who rent, the median net worth, Deborah, of those who rent right now in the United States, at least, is $5,000. For those who own a home, it's $230,000. So it's a 46 times difference.
Wow.
And there's so much more to home ownership that people don't realize. For instance, if you own a home, there's a 50% chance less that you'll get divorced. Chances of divorce.
Oh, that's so interesting. I wonder why. That's fascinating.
Yeah, and there's less incidences of asthma in children, and children tend to do much better in school. There's a lot of underlying aspects that are transformational, and it really is taking that courage, taking that step, and say, I'm going to see what that's like. I get people that call me all the time that say, I know we can't qualify. That's the first words out of their mouth, Deborah. I know we can't qualify. But we saw this house. Is there a way that we can do it? And 9 times out of 10, they're in their house in 60 days.
That's wonderful. John, how can the audience learn more about your work? Do you have courses? Tell us more about how you do the coaching.
Yeah, I think the best way that I work with individuals is you go to my website, which is John W. Mallett, JohnWMallett, and .com. And just contact me. And the best thing to do is I'll send you my book. And if you read the book, and then we can get together, we can talk a little bit, and we can figure out a plan for you and put together a little bit of a strategy.
Tell us more about the book. The name of the book. Can people go out and buy it?
Yeah.
Is it something we can?
Sure. Yeah, you can go on Amazon. It's Buy Your First Home Today.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And when I finished the book, it was about 2:00 in the morning. I finished the book. I said, it's finished. And then I started chapter 1, reading it. And I thought, this has got to be the most dry book I've ever read on mortgages. It was horrible. So what I did was I changed it and I put in a lot of stories. So the book has a lot of stories of people that didn't think they could qualify, and then to find out that they could. So it's an aspirational work. It's on Amazon, and it really pretty much takes you through the process. And it's really important that you read that, because once you read it, the lights go on and you can go, okay, maybe this is something I can do. And it's really important to know that for people with disabilities, there are programs that are specially suited for you. Really important to understand that there are lots of federal programs and state programs that you can, as soon as you start educating yourself, you will find out that there are grants, that there are municipal down payment assistance, that there are loans especially suited for people that don't have very good credit. USDA has a program especially for people with disabilities. You have to apply with them directly, but you can do that. FHA, there's all of these programs available, and a lot for people specifically that are disabled.
And one thing that we're going to ask John right here on air is we have created Billion Strong. It is an global identity organization bringing 1.3 billion people with disabilities together with pride. And we would love to pay you to do some courses for our community.
Sure.
How do we do this? So we actually, if he agrees, we want to have him develop a course specifically paid. We don't like asking people to do work for free when they're doing good work, like people always did to us.
Yeah.
So we want to exchange money. But
Sure.
I think it would be really cool to do a course for Billion Strong and let them know about your coaching and others. So, so we think this is a very, very important topic. And so we're going to continue to work with John. But John, just one more time, tell everybody your website and we'll include it. But also, can you be found on social media?
Yes, I'm on Facebook with Main Street Mortgage, or you can go to John W. Mallett. The book is Buy Your First Home Today. The best way is my landing page, which is johnwmallett.com. And we'll do everything we can to help. We really will.
Thank you. And your mother thanks you. Look what you're doing for this community. Thank you. Thank you. Just think if your mother had you when she did have you, if she had your coaching skills whenever your father abandoned the family, what a difference that could make. But the good news is you took this really tough walk and you turned it around to help millions of people. And that I'm grateful for. So thank you.
It's great to be with you, Deborah. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for your work. And thanks to the audience. And we'll make sure you have all of the information to get hold of John. Bye, everyone.
You've been listening to Human Potential at Work. To learn more about Rue Global Impact, visit rueglobal.com. And to learn more about Billion Strong, an identity and empowerment organization designed to bring the billions of voices of persons with disabilities together, you can join the global community and donate at billion-strong.org. That's billion-strong.org.